Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so this is Crypto Corner Sat Stacker for Saturday, May 24th. Going to be doing a little bit of an update and yeah, just diving into charts of, I believe, 18 different cryptocurrencies. But before I get into that, I just kind of wanted to do an overview of my thesis. And just also had a couple quick mentions here at the beginning. And so for going over this thesis, I'm going to ask Ed to step out of the way there just so you can see that here what we have is the weekly Ethereum chart that I took a screenshot when I did the first crypto corner. It was, at the end of April. And, and that was actually also following this video that I put out on Easter. So 420 was Easter. I put out this video just going over this thesis. So that is where the screenshot is from. And really just highlighting that on April 7th, it does look like that was the dip to be buying. I do think that was the cycle low for Ethereum. I think that it will be rallying potentially to new all-time highs, such as right around $8,000 a coin by the end of the year, which is based on this red trend line here that intersects with the tops from 2021 and goes back to the high at the tail end of 2017. So that is how you get that trend line and these other levels here that did suggest to me that 1400 was the bottom for Ethereum. So I think there's just a lot of great potential with that. Also a few fun notes. Looks like the Bitcoin low in April, if you do look at it on Coinbase, was $74,000, $74,420.69 there, 69 cents. And yeah, I just think that's funny. I don't think that was the exact low, but that is what is displayed. So I think that's fun. And there are also some memes here that just kind of suggested to me that when there was all this panic here, that was the bottom. That was the time to be buying. And let's see. Yeah, I am going to just mention this real quick before going up here to talk about my thesis, the bullet points there. But there was actually an issue that I experienced yesterday, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And that was with Strike. That's a platform or exchange that I use to stack sats to buy my Bitcoin, which I then move off the exchange to my hardware wallet. And so there was an issue yesterday where a buy order was not filled. I reached out to them and they were super helpful. Strike has always been super helpful. It's a great platform for specifically Bitcoin. And so, I just wanted to give a shout out to them because I think it's just a great way to just stay focused, to stack sats, and then to transfer off into a hardware wallet. And so yeah, this is their website, strike.me, but you can also get to it via link in the description. I think we both get a little bit of a benefit for that. But yeah, they offer a lot of stuff with Bitcoin. Here is the main page. They also just recently started lending. Looks like that is going to take a second to load there. This is a new thing that they just started, Bitcoin backed loans. And then there's also a bunch of other stuff, bill pay payments. This is a Bitcoin, financial services platform, and I just think it's a great one. So I wanted to share that. And since I did mention moving off the exchanges, since I did mention that, they had a little bit of an issue yesterday, which was not that big of a deal, just a little hiccup, it's good to move coins off any exchanges onto a hardware wallet because you never know what could happen. Not your keys, not your crypto. And so the hardware wallets that I use come from Trezor. I just wanted to give them a shout out as well. I use the Model 1, but then I just recently got the Safe 3 so I can store Cardano, XRP, as well as Solana, which I was not able to store on the Model 1. But yeah, I've had a great experience with them, and it does look like they have a 40% off for the Model 1. So if you don't want to be getting into a bunch of cryptos, the Model 1's cheap, it's easy to use. I found it a great way to onboard, for getting into hardware wallets, and then also the Model T 41% off. These are both their older versions that they're kind of phasing out. The Model T, you can store those other cryptos like I mentioned, Solana, XRP, and Cardano. But yeah, I mean, let's get back to the thesis over here. And so my thesis is just based on these 9 bullet points. I did elaborate on a couple of them. And so really just the first point is that my thesis is that I think that Bitcoin and crypto will top May through December of 2025, corresponding with the 4-year cycle blow off top. And thus far, I'm correct with that in that we have hit new all-time highs already in May. But I do think that we could be seeing much higher prices across not just Bitcoin, but alts as well, including Ethereum. And so, yeah, I mean, that's my thesis there. Another part of the thesis is just that, I do have some savings, and with that savings account, I get less than 4% APY. Just to note, I did add this in the description if you're curious, if you want to get a savings account. I think we both get a little bit if you open one, and that is actually a 3.6% APY, which, is maybe not the best, but it's an easy app to use. So, I do use that to collect, about 4% or slightly less than that APY. And then the third point here is that I also do have some debt, but that is 0% APR. So APY is annual percentage yield that you are earning money on that savings. APR is, I believe, annual percentage rate. I'm not exactly sure, but that's the amount that I would be paying to be taking out that debt. But like I mentioned, my debt is 0% APR until March of next year, but I could extend it to August, so we'll see if I do that. And really putting all of this together, I guess moving on to 5 would be putting it all together. But number 4 first is that greater than 100% of my debt is in savings to collect that APY. So I think that's a pretty important thing to note here, that I think when investing in anything, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, if you're doing it while you have debt, I think it's really risky. It just affects you emotionally, all of that stuff. And so I am not exposing myself to any debt that I do not already have covered. And so putting all 4 of those points together, I actually think I could do better with crypto than that 4% APY. And so we will just see how that unfolds over the course of the rest of the year. And so my strategy with that is the remainder of my savings that I have, which is, going beyond the debt that I have in savings. So my official savings, I want to stack that up to have 6 months of bills plus expenses for 2026 to cover half of the year. And currently I have less than half of that year covered. And so I want to grow what I have set aside. And so my plan is that the remainder, which again goes beyond the debt, not including the debt that I have in savings, the remainder, if I move that into crypto, I think that I can get a greater than 4% APY. And my strategy is stacking or moving into crypto about $500 a week, doing that by DCA, which is dollar cost averaging. And you will probably notice that I actually do add more than $500 a week. Basically, I'm just putting all of my spare cash into crypto for the remainder of this year, because why not? I got nothing else to do with it. So, and part of this thesis is that, I want to have no more FOMO, whether that's wanting to buy at the top, YOLO at the top, or to, actually miss out by not buying the dip. So that's why I'm doing this, dollar cost averaging. Really not that exciting. And I should note that's daily dollar cost averaging. Really not that exciting, really actually very boring. But I think that is really the best way to be playing crypto, or really any investing. If it's exciting, you're probably doing it wrong. You might get rugged, so good to be cautious of that. And then finally, the last point is that I do have more confidence in Bitcoin over alts. And that is really just to say that if I end up being wrong, I think that we have to expect that a majority of the time we're wrong, or at least we're partially wrong. And, if that is the case, if Ethereum does not go up to $8,000, then, I have longer term conviction in Bitcoin than I do in any alts. So that is why I'm doing a good amount of stacking of Bitcoin as well as ETH, just because it's, the number two. I think there's also a lot of utility with it, and I don't think that ETH holders have been left behind. I think that these people are just waiting for the next plane, which is going to be a rocket ship. So not one of these little dinky planes, but, a massive one. It's going to be, the SpaceX rocket. I forget what it's called. No, that's based in Starbase, but that's the star, whatever it's called. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, it's a big rocket ship that the ETH holders are waiting for, not the dinky little plane here. So that's kind of my thesis, just a little overview there. And then so now what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the video is effectively just kind of populating this table, which if you've seen the prior week's videos, I've actually done a lot of that population, and that is because I have been implemented Grok into populating this. As you can see down here, I do have a Grok input and output tab, as well as the Grok out, which is what I put into here. So before I get into the table here, I'll just go over what I did with Grok in case you're curious. I just realized I was doing a lot of very systematic plugging of numbers into the table here. And I thought, well, maybe AI can help. And so what I did with Grok is, I just opened up this chat here on the X platform. And I said, create a table with a ticker on the left column, blah, 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 blah. If you want to read that, I can even zoom in on it for you. You can just kind of, pause the video and read that if you like. But let's bring us back to 100% there. I just punched that into Grok. Grok gave me this table. What I've noticed is that Grok doesn't always get the numbers right. And you can also see that there are a good amount of unavailables there as well, asterisks. So I don't have too much confidence in this. And so what I did following that is I did this but using deep search. So Grok was able to just spend a little bit more time, 1 minute and 45 seconds, diving into 25 sources to give me a table, which you can see. I'm just going to actually, so there's this table here. I'm actually kind of confused. Market cap and closing prices table. And there's this, I kind of screwed up down there. Let's see. Okay, so create that table. And then down here, it does that. And I'm actually just going to make sure. Yeah, I believe I copied from this one. So there's a lot of information there that you could utilize to learn more about this stuff. If you like, just punch it into Grok. And so what I did is I then just came to this table, which has the ticker, market cap, divided by $1 million. So this is in millions of dollars. And then I have yesterday's closing price in USD, which is what I have been populating the tables with in prior videos. And so I just took these numbers, going all the way down, getting all 19. I copied them. And then in this Grok input tab, in this Grok output tab, I pasted them here. So this is the output, and then I have it highlighted in yellow just so I know for next week that I need to have it lined up in the same cells. And so I just paste that there. This is the input that I put into Grok, so I can copy that for next week, edit it if I need to. But I just put that here because I don't know if you guys experienced it, but there have been some outages or some issues on X. And, I wasn't able to get my search from last week when I realized this would be a more efficient way to populate that table. And so I have that here. I will update this next week. And then from this, I just have this Grok out tab, which just reformats the output here into, a table like how I had it online here. I'm not sure exactly, it wasn't comma separated or whatever, so I wasn't able to import it into Excel, but just copying it from there into that list, I then reformat it over here, which is, based on these cells up here. I don't know if you can see, but so yeah, it should be basically automated every week. Then I copy those numbers into the tab here so we can see the market caps, the prices, and now I do have all of this stuff calculated now, so you guys don't have to sit through that long process. So, I think that is going to just make these videos more efficient, more valuable, not only for you, but also for me. It's quite possible that the prices and the market caps here might be a little bit off in case Grok made a mistake, because that does happen. And it does seem like over here, Grok was not able to get the data from the official Trump coin. I imagine that's because it's just a very new coin. And so maybe a little bit of an issue there. But yeah, we can just add that by looking at CoinMarketCap and looking at the price on TradingView. But I'll do that when we get to that ticker. Also, you might notice from last week, or, I did this last week and then copied it over, but I have, what we can see from prior weeks, I didn't have that coloring in those cells. And that's because we can see how the market cap and price changed relative to last week. So where it's green, that means market cap and or price went up. Where it's red, that means market cap and or price went down. And so we can see that overall it's been a pretty good week, and we can see my returns over here, some of them much better than 4%, much better than savings, but some of them, a lot worse than what I'm getting in savings. So those are going to be the ones that I want to kind of dollar cost average into to get to bring my average down. And so I will go over the daily dollar cost averaging that I'm doing. And I will update throughout this video, just kind of looking at the charts and seeing what price is doing. And this is also conditional formatting to show the highest percentage here, which is going to be Bitcoin doing the best in that one. And then the worst, it looks like it's tied with iExec RLC ticker here, or, also looking at Uniswap ticker symbol UNI, both of those being 50% down. So not that great, but it is what it is. And so with that being said, before I dive into the tickers, I'm actually just going to take a sip of coffee. I haven't had any today. Recording this a little bit later than usual, but still need to have that coffee. And this is going to be my little break between tickers. All right, still hot, so that's nice. Okay, yeah, so let's look over here at Bitcoin. And we can see that the market cap is over $2 trillion. Which, wait, is that 2 trillion or 2 billion? So million, that's over $2 trillion. The price from yesterday's close, and we can check that to see how well Grok did, was around $108,800. And it looks like my average is just shy of 80,000. So like I said, I am 36% up on that. And, just to kind of be keeping it simple, I'm just doing a $40 daily DCA with Strike. Like I said, link down below if you want to check out Strike. Because I do a daily DCA, I get free, no fees, which I believe is 1% fee for buys. And so I get that waived by doing a daily DCA and then moving off the exchange into my hardware wallet, which is the Trezor wallet. That is free as long as I accumulate up to 0.00075 Bitcoin. And so that is what I end up transferring when I do transfer. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, let's dive into the chart and actually check, how well Grok did there. So coming over here, we got the Bitcoin chart on the daily. So let's see what the daily close was for yesterday, May 23rd. And it looks like the close was 107,329. So I'm sorry Grok screwed up a little bit there. But, I'm just going to leave it. It all depends on, the time of that close of that candle. We'll just leave it here. Keep it simple. Although, it is off by, $1,500. So Grok, that's really not that good. But, it is what it is. And yeah, we can see that I'm not sure if I did this doodle last week or if I updated this. You probably noticed that I did update some of these lines. Maybe you can tell I just like kind of pinpointed them to the highs and lows, or at least I think I did. Are they locked into place? Yes, they are, as you can see. And so yeah, I just kind of wanted to see, is Bitcoin potentially going to get a little bit higher? So we do have this red uptrend here, which corresponds with this, very tippy top high from 2021 that was hit apparently on November 9th of 2021. And then that line intersects over here with the high from, let's see, 2024 that was in December, as well as the high from, I believe that was January. Yes. And so that would suggest that the Bitcoin price could be going a little bit higher, like to around 114, give or take somewhere around there before pulling back. But it does look like we did get a rejection from this orange uptrend, which has a little bit more significance going back to the pivot highs from December of 2017, intersecting with, kind of the tops over here, as well as, so this is in 2021, as well as, all of these in 2021. And also the tops here from 2024 and 2025. We're getting rejected from there. Where could I see it pulling back to? So let's just zoom in here, try to do it a little bit smoother. And so let's see. I have this green line drawn around 105, let's say. Looks like it's approximately at 104,500. That, again, you can see it's just a very approximate level there. But this was pointed out by Crypto Rover. Maybe actually it's better to have that line a little bit higher because, here we're getting into like the meat of these candles. It really, I think, is approximately coming back to the wick high from December 5th of 2024, which was 104 exactly, right around there. But we do have a little bit more overlap of these candles. I would rather get to the tops of the candle, so we just have overlap of some wicks. So I'm just going to pull up a horizontal ray, get that lined up here. That looks like it's at 106, right around there. So, what I think, considering these levels, let's just zoom in here and get this a little bit more cleaned up. So the closing price on December 16th was 106.9981. 106.9981. So let's adjust that line to correspond with that 106.9981. So got that there. And let's see. Now I will just adjust the color to be yellow because I do think it could go a little bit lower than that. And I'm also going to lock that in place. So we do have that there. And then this horizontal line, let's see, not locked in place. I'm going to move it over here to the wick high from December 5th, which as I had mentioned, was at $104,000. So let's just make sure that is, let's see, why is there bar? I'm not sure if I have that. What's going on with that? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a horizontal line. I think I just held the shift, so it's not held the shift key with a trend line. So it wasn't, a horizontal ray like we got going on here. So that should be at 104. So let's just check that out. Make sure it's 104. Got that lined up there. I'm going to make that one green because I think that would be an excellent dip buying opportunity level. And so that's kind of, my thesis as far as a pullback for Bitcoin that could go. And really looking at this, that dip that I have doodled out there does suggest we could be seeing a dip to around 106 to 104. Maybe 105 would get filled, but maybe not. Maybe we don't get to the middle here like I have doodled there. Maybe we just dip to 105, but orders don't get filled there. So 106, I find that to be kind of an intriguing pullback level. And so I'm going to think about that. I'm just going to put it in my little notepad here just for myself to consider after this video. So Bitcoin to 106/104. Maybe want to do a dip buy at 106 or 105. That's just what I'm putting there for myself to think about. So yeah, I mean, I think that this could be pulling back. I think it's good to be prepared for that. And let's also just kind of consider, I mean, we have been doing these. Let's see if I just do this so the volume's not in the way. We have been doing these, bull flags on the way up, about 2 weeks consolidation in these ranges. And it looks like we're kind of, getting this move up here. Maybe we get a pullback. Maybe this is a failed, big green candle like we saw over here. Going up 6% on that green candle, up again, almost 7% with this green candle. We haven't really seen that just yet, but yeah, maybe we need to see some notable consolidation here, maybe over the course of the next week, months, I don't know, before we can break out above that red line. So definitely something good to be considering there. And so with that being said, I'm just going to leave this as $40 there, but I will color yellow because I do need to consider, a possible limit dip buy, not a limit lip buy, a limit dip buy of Bitcoin around 106, 105, maybe split the difference, $105,500. Maybe that would be a nice dip to see on Bitcoin. But, it could also break down even lower, maybe coming back to this range here. But really, I mean, did we dip back to the lows or the highs here? No, we didn't dip that low. Did we over here? No. So, it's possible like we don't dip down to the highs that we're hitting over here. And so the high on May 12th was, let's see, 105,787.37. And so that actually might be, a good level to add at as well on a pullback. But, like I said, the reason why I'm doing the daily dollar cost averaging is because maybe it doesn't dip to those levels and I don't want to get left behind. But if it does dip to those levels, I want to be taking advantage. So, I think that's, just a good way to play that. But yeah, I'm at this point, I'm undecided. I'm just going to think about that, just continuing the $40 daily DCA. And so, we will continue on to the next one in just a second, but I'm going to have another sip of this coffee. And I am going to invite our friend back to hang out. Welcome back, Ed. Sorry to have you sitting in the corner over there out of the frame. Glad to have you back. But yeah, let's get into Ethereum, which is next on the list. It did overtake Doge as far as my risk. My position in Ethereum is now larger than my position in Doge. So feeling good about that, just kind of like working my way down, the risk curve here. I think Doge is more speculative than Ethereum, so I should probably have more on Ethereum right now. But maybe with that being said, maybe I want to play catch up with Doge. So maybe I want to consider doing some small dollar cost averaging. I'll think about it. Maybe for next week or the week after. But anyways, let's talk about Ethereum. So it did have, market cap go up to about $308 billion. The price of yesterday's close was around 2,550, but we'll actually have to check that out over here. So the close was 2,527. So Grok did a better job there. So nice work, buddy. And my average is around 2,000. I actually looked back. I was dollar cost averaging into ETH prior to April 7th, but I believe on April 6th, I started to get more aggressive with those buys. But unfortunately, because I was, starting then, and then as the price went up, my average is around $2,000. Wish it was lower, but it is what it is. And, I have to say I'm pretty happy being, up 28% on that. And I have been doing, a $36.25 dollar cost average, which I will also have to, just like with Bitcoin, consider doing a dip buy, a limit dip buy. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And the reason why I have 36.25 is because with Robinhood, I get a little bit of a discount, or, they just don't use the full 36.25. And so if you were to get about $250 a week, we just pull up the calculator here, we can see that $36 times 7 days is right around $250. So by doing the 36.25, I'm actually like each day it's ranges between, let's see, 35.90 or 35.89. So let's just go with the lower number, 35.89. Multiply that by 7, and then so yeah, I am doing $250 addition to Ethereum, whereas I'm doing a little bit more with Bitcoin just because I don't necessarily want to take profits on that. So the idea is, by the end of the year, I take profits on all of these, or if they hit my targets, so then I can, pay off or have the money set aside for bills for next year. So that's kind of my plan. But yeah, that's how I get those two numbers there, if you are wondering. But yeah, let's dive into the Ethereum chart and just to kind of evaluate that. And so you might notice I did adjust the ranges that I have here, the parallel channels there. And then also I did kind of clean up some of the Fibonacci retracements and extensions that I do have marked up here. But one thing that actually doesn't look so great with Ethereum is just from the top of that range, that would be where the supply is, learning a little bit more about Wyckoff. What we can see is that maybe there's a double top there. And with that, we do see that there is lower volume for the top over here. So that does suggest a little bit of weakness. So we could very well be seeing a pullback. So good to be preparing for that. But where could Ethereum be pulling back to? This level here, I don't have the diagonal lines just because it was getting a little bit cluttered. But let's see if I do adjust this so that volume's not in the way, we can see those blue dots there, those circles that mark, that this Fibonacci extension goes from the low here up to this high. And then I just drag it over here so we see that coming out to here. And that is really just based on the lows. Let's see if I can get that from this range here. And so that 1618 extension brought us to around $2,500, which has, pretty well served as the floor for where we've been trading, having hit a high last week of, above $2,700. So pretty nice there. And so from that, top there back down to this low, a little bit of panic there, dipping lower, but from that range, just like swing trading it, just trying to think about that, not just stacking, but also considering swinging. We can see up to that top range. That's about an over 8% move right there. So that would have been, a nice way to swing a little bit of ETH on the side there. But yeah, what we can do, what we should do, what I'm going to do is a Fibonacci retracement from the low over here, just being approximate, going up to the highs from, effectively that double top. And what do we see? We see the 50% retracement at around $2,233. Moving below that is the 618 around 2,100, and then below that the 786 around 1950. So those are all levels that we could be dipping to, but I also think it is important to note the low here from this range that we've been trading in. So we did kind of, sweep the lows over here, got anybody who had stop losses below the lows here, got them to get pushed out of their positions. So what was the low over here on May 18th? It looks like that was $2,323 exactly. It looks like pretty remarkable that it's at the exact dollar amount there. So let's just line that up and see that low for that day, 2,000. So it's 2323. So I'm just going to adjust that over here, 2323, and I'm going to lock that in place so it doesn't move. And I'm going to color that one yellow because, that's, getting into this range where, the green, I think we could be dipping into that. Yellow, maybe not as much. Red seems less likely. So waiting for it to come down to sub 2,000, you might not get filled. So that's kind of my thought process on that. But yeah, if this does dip to around 2,300, that might be a nice level to consider a dip buy, just because, if all of these continue going up, maybe they pull back over the next couple months, I have no idea, but if they continue going up, this will be an opportunity for me to stack a little more aggressively on those pullbacks, or if not, maybe I can pump the brakes and adjust those DCAs. And with Ethereum, there's no consequence to canceling a daily DCA, whereas with Strike, I would then, if I canceled it, I would then be having to pay 1% every trade for a week, and then I would get that back, or then that would be free after a week of it. And so anyways, what was I saying about ETH? Around 2,300, so that might be a nice dip buy level for me to consider there. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have, all that I have on Ethereum. So yeah, both of these, and effectively what I'm thinking, since I'm doing over the course of the week $250, I might do a limit dip buy for Ethereum at 2,300, $250. Maybe the same with Bitcoin, but really, since I am more aggressive with Bitcoin, I probably won't do that. Maybe I do like 10 or 50, something like that, something I would need to think about and consider. So yeah, I'll have to think about that probably after this video is done. But yeah, I will continue on to the next one, but I'm just gonna have another sip here. All right. So now that I got that sip of coffee, let's talk about Dogecoin. Dogecoin was the number 2 on the list last week, but it did move down. Ethereum overtook it. For my risk, I now have more risk exposure to Ethereum than Doge, but that's fine. And so the market cap, as far as Grok understands, the market cap for Doge is and or was, when I populated this, about $33 billion. And the closing price yesterday, so on Friday, May 23rd, was around 22.7 cents. We'll have to check that in just a second. And, my average is around 17.4 cents. And I am up, it looks like, about 31% there. So definitely performing better than savings. So feeling good about that. And because I am in the green, actually quite notably, I'm just doing not a daily DCA with Dogecoin, but I have a $5 limit buy if it comes down to, I believe, 17.39, possibly 17.4. Not really sure, but right around there. I would add more if it did pull back, but I feel like that may not end up happening. So, but that's just the reality I got to deal with. But yeah, anyways, let's now pull up the Dogecoin chart. And I might actually open up another tab just so, because I know I need to revisit Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let's just pull up TradingView. And I am just going to type in Doge here, which I know there was always an issue with how I looked at this. Not the Coinbase data, I believe. And actually, I'm going to move myself out of the way for a second, because I think if I click this, or maybe this one here, there might be a dancing Doge. So I'm just going to step out of the way for a second, and I'm going to click on this one, and we can see, is there a dancing little Doge? Nope. So that's unfortunate. Pulling this up again, we can see Doge market cap. Maybe is there a dancing little Doge? Nope. Oh well, maybe if I do. Coinbase. Nope. This one doesn't have, actually this one does have volume, but it doesn't have as much data going back to the prior all-time highs. So I'm not looking at the Coinbase data for Dogecoin. What I am instead going to be doing is, let's see, Kraken, is that the one? That is not the one that I was looking at. Sorry about this. I believe it was Binance. So yep, this has all the levels, which I'll probably adjust during this video here. But yeah, so we can see, let's check out actually what the close was for Doge yesterday. And so that looks like on the 23rd, the close was 22.53 cents. So let's see, how well did Grok do? 2.53 cents. So Grok was pretty close, so not so bad there. Does look like, we have again, like I was pointing out with Ethereum, I believe, or maybe that was, was Ethereum. Kind of a double top here, lower volume. So not too surprising to see potential rejection there. I do have these drawn up how I used to have them drawn, these Fibonacci retracements or extensions. And so because we've already gone through these moves in the past, I'm actually just going to delete these older ones, and then I can draw up a new one so we could see where price could potentially be going to. And so that is going to be by the trend-based fib extension here. So just going from basically the low from over here up to the high here, and then just kind of stretching this out, getting the cursor lined up with the low from over here. And then if we take a step back, we can see where that takes us. So that 100% Fibonacci extension. So effectively the distance from here to here taken from that low brings us up to around 30.66 cents, which corresponds with, the bottoms over here. So that actually does make sense as being, a level of resistance. So good to be keeping in mind. Don't want to be FOMOing in, at a level of resistance. Better to be doing that, when it's consolidating in a bull flag, which it looks like it's doing now. But it could, of course, be pulling back. So it's good to have a plan for that. It's good to be managing some risk there, or to have a plan to be able to buy the dip if we do see them. And so this is just approximate, going from that wick low there to the wick high here. We can see that the 50% retracement, we've already tested it, it looks like, on May 17th, hitting a low on that day of 21.07 cents. And that did pierce the 50% level here, right around 21 cents, or just above, I should say. Maybe we do go a little bit lower to 20 cents. That would be the 618 or the 786 down at 1845, which I feel like that would be acting as a lot of support if we did come down there, just because we had this consolidation over here. That is likely to be acting as some support. And then likewise with the yellow line here, that 618 come across, we do have the wick highs here. So those could be acting as support if we do break 21, coming down to 20. And so with that being said, I feel like there's pretty low risk that, my position goes in the red for Doge, although, it is very speculative, so that could happen. This whole pattern here could be breaking down. So good to be cautious of that, but really just taking a step back. We do have the all-time highs here, really like the consolidation highs where, let's see if we zoom in there just to show you guys, if you're curious what I mean by consolidation highs. It's not just wick highs, not just one wick getting up there, because then, you might not get filled if you had a limit order placed at that tippy top there. But with the consolidation highs, we do have some wicks trading above that yellow level. So if you had an order placed at about 69 cents, probably would have gotten filled. So that is why I have that level marked there. And so, yeah, that's like a lot of upside. I'm just going to zoom out, then zoom in. That's just a lot of upside from where we're currently at. Let's just take a quick measurement just out of curiosity. That would be putting price up about 200%, getting up there. So that's pretty nice. And then going up to $1, it's more than 200%. So yeah, I like Doge a lot. It's fun. I think the community is fun. I like it. And so you don't have to like it. That's fine. You can say it's speculative. You can think it's a meme coin and a joke. But I think that there's actually a good amount of utility with it. Just transferring it from wallets to cold storage, or to exchanges to cold storage, vice versa. Very easy to move, very easy to transfer. And it's not like, tons of zeros. And if this does kind of settle out around $1, maybe this replaces the US dollar bill. Oh my gosh, I have been off the screen this entire time. I am sorry about that. I'm sure you guys missed me there. But that was all just talking about Doge. So you didn't get my hand movements, my expressions, whatnot. But yeah, hopefully you'll survive. But yeah, maybe Doge replaces the dollar or something. So yeah, I just think that Doge is great. And maybe what I want to consider doing is, just $1 DCA. So I might add that here. to include, $1 daily DCA plus $5, so that's something I got to consider. Because, why not? With that position being up 31%, and with me adding to these, if I have conviction in these, whether it's Bitcoin, store of value for the long term, Ethereum being the network that is being utilized for stable coins, for layer 2s, all of this stuff, just a lot of utility there. There also being an ETF for Ethereum, as well as, of course, Bitcoin. Those two, having those ETFs, I think that a lot of money could roll from the Bitcoin ETF into the Ethereum ETF. So there's kind of a thesis there. Doge, while there is not an ETFs, it's fun money. It's fun. So maybe I want to just do a little bit of dollar cost averaging there. So nothing too crazy with that. But yeah, I'm just going to save this in case I screw something up. And I'm going to have a sip of coffee, and then I'll continue on to the next one, which I did do the $200 over the course of 4 days, $50 dip buys. And so if we do look over the prior weeks, so, let's see, market cap 86, price 118. My average currently is 238. I wanted to get it down to around 221, 220, somewhere around there, but now it's 238. Last week, it was 272. The week before, it was above $3. So pretty happy that I've gotten that average down, but the market cap is tiny. Very risky, very speculative, but adding just $400 more over the past couple weeks to get my average down, I feel like that's good. And considering, just got paid, but the majority of that check is going to bills and whatnot. So I'm going to lay off. I'm going to take the foot off the gas pedal, put on the brakes. And so I am going to do zero buying of RLC for this week. It's just too risky. And with the current price though at 118, or from yesterday, that is a discount. I would be getting it cheaper now if I were to be continuing with that dollar cost average. Maybe I can convince myself that I should be adding to it. And so what we can do here is go to the RLC, which is the iExec token, US dollars on Coinbase, and we can see what we've got over here. And so dang it looks like we've broken below that trend line. We did it last week, and I was buying the dip over here. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which actually ended up getting filled on Wednesday. The fourth fill is always a little bit late for those. But yeah, I was buying the dip here. We have dipped lower. So maybe I could get my average down even more, but I think I need to take a break because maybe this is just gonna, collapse. Who knows? But with that being said, and having kind of adjusted the formatting of some of these fibs and stuff, I'm just gonna delete these, and then we can see. So I've got that, downtrending level there. That was resistance. It looks like we're hanging out there. So, maybe not so great. But then from this upside move, let's do a Fibonacci retracement to see. Oops, that's the range. I don't want that. I want the fib here. So going from that approximate low up to that high, we can see we're trading around that 618, and then could be coming down to that 786, which, let's see, I just need to adjust this so I can read those numbers, is around, 113. So maybe we see a dip down to that. I am kind of tempted because, I don't know if my thesis is that, we're going to be seeing alt season, that these could be running. Now's the time to be getting the average down. So maybe this is a time to embrace the degen aspect of the ED, and maybe that's something that I want to consider. But before I do that, though, I should probably take into account the higher lows that we have here. We do want to be respecting those. If we do break them, that could be suggesting that there is a breakdown in this trend. So yeah, I'm just going to adjust this line. Try not to adjust it too much, but just kind of want to extend that so we get an intersection. over here. So, as you can see, I didn't do it based on the lows. I did it based on the closes and or opens, just getting that lined up. Those were levels that, we did find some support at. And so that could be corresponding with a price to around 113. So this is still, not looking that bad. If this is to go higher, that's great. I get closer to being in the green. But if this does come lower, maybe I want to be ready for that. Maybe I want to be positioned for it. So if this does come down to 113, I'm going to note that RLC, let's see, 113. Maybe that's a dip buying opportunity before, hopefully, this does not break down and this breaks out, potentially getting up to around 150 or, as I had mentioned up here, around 220. My average is currently below 220, so I would not be able to take risk off the table if it did go up there. So yeah, just, stuff for me to be thinking about with this. Yeah, I mean, generally still putting in higher lows, so I feel like that's not too bad of a look there. And let's also just kind of try to consider the volume in this range here. I don't know if this is a range. Volume has been lower more recently. So yeah, I think that's, it's all been kind of low here. It was really high over here. And if I do adjust that axis, we can see that price went up to, 450. So if my average is like 238, I could potentially be making a lot of money with this, but maybe not. It's risky. And so I don't think I should necessarily be expecting that or counting on it. But if this does come down to 113, I'll have to consider it being a degen, throwing some more on RLC. But as of right now, I'm just going to try to be disciplined. Hope that actually I should probably adjust this doodle to be, let's see, that this comes down like that, then wicks up, and then goes. So that is kind of what I could see happening there with RLC. Move down, panic, dips, and maybe even goes below that trend line, and then it kind of launches. And so maybe that would be just not a $50 over the course of 4 days. Maybe that's just throw $200 at it right then and there. So yeah, we'll have to consider that if it does come down to 113, throw some cash at it. Is kind of my thesis, but maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe that's a terrible idea. Very risky with altcoins, especially ones with $86 million market caps, but maybe there's some volatile moves to the upside coming up for it. Who knows? But yeah, down 50% on that position. But I think that I could get to break even, then take some risk off the table, and then move RLC down on the list a little bit. So it's not, don't have so much risk exposed to it. And so let's continue on to the next one, which is going to be Ethereum Classic, ticker symbol ETC. Market cap did go up last week, but the price did apparently pull back a little bit. And, my average with ETC, with Ethereum Classic, is around 22.57. So I am still in the red, down about 18%. And so because of that, I'm probably still just going to be doing the $3 daily DCA with Robinhood. Reason why $3, because over the course of the week, that effectively adds up to about one more Ethereum Classic, or a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing with that for me. Maybe it's stupid. Maybe I'm an idiot. I have no idea. But yeah, let's pull up the chart over here of Ethereum Classic and ETC US dollar on Coinbase. So this is one, I got this Fibonacci retracement here, but I am actually just going to, I want to kind of be sticking to the same kind of format, just so these are looking, all, we're not looking at different charts, all this random stuff up here, all this clutter with these dashed lines and whatnot. And so since that did, predict a top, maybe I do want to redraw that Fibonacci extension there. And so I'm just going to let's see, that volume there is getting in the way. Big volume there, buying, pushing that back up. So maybe that was, a bottom right around here, around 14 bucks. So that actually kind of makes some sense there. And, volume coming down here, potentially, breaking out here. So what I want to do is actually Fibonacci extension, or here the trend-based Fibonacci extension, going from that low up to the highs here. Oops, no, up to the highs here, and then pulling back. And so, yeah, I mean, that was a pretty nice predictor of the top there. And so maybe I want to just do this like that. Very nice top there, around $20.50. Pulling back, did dip to the 618 around 1765. Currently trading just above that 50% level at 1829. And I think I forgot to check this with RLC, but just seeing the close from yesterday, Friday was 1849. What do we have over here? A little bit off. Grok is not perfect, but Grok is faster than me, so I can spend more time diving into the chart. So hopefully this, just adds more value for you guys, adds more value for me, all of the above. But yeah, I mean, based on this level that I had drawn here around 21 bucks, we did, hit a wick high. It looks like on May 13th of $20.99. So right around there, getting rejected before pulling back to that 618. Maybe that was a dip buy. And then this could be breaking out. So yeah, I mean, it might just be another week or so before, I am, let's see, in the green on my Ethereum Classic position, which is, to mention it again, around 2257. And so with that, keeping that in mind, let's do another fib extension, though, from the low here. Let's see, just make sure that's lined up right. From the low there up to these highs, and then pulling back to this wick low, just dragging it out over here. So we've got, kind of a range above us projecting into the future. And we can see that's to a price of right around 2280. So if I'm continuing to dollar cost average, get my average down a little bit, when we do get up to around 2280, 23, somewhere around there, I'll be in the green, slightly in the green, break even. Maybe that's a good time for me to take some off the table, bring this down on the list so I'm not exposed to so much risk, and then I can more aggressively buy back on dips. And then that just, really gets my average down, exposes me to less risk, and, just makes me feel better overall. So, yeah, I mean, I think that we could be seeing 22 to 23 in the coming week or so, but we will have to see. Generally, I like Ethereum Classic, but I also like Ethereum, I like both. So, yeah. With that being said, I'm going to mix it up and have a sip of water this time before flipping over to the next one on the list, which is Ondo. So this is one I think I'm really proud of myself, but looking at the current price, whatever it is, I might, have not done such a great move. But generally, what we can see is the market cap and the price of Ondo did go up over the past week. So last week we can see it was around 93, 94 cents. Now, or as of yesterday's close, it was around 95.4 cents. I did do this dip buy, $100 via Uphold, and I did get my average down. So with that being said, last week my average was around 109. Now my average is around 103. So feeling good about that. Down only 7%, whereas last week I was down 14%. So that's pretty impressive. Pretty big change there. But yeah, I mean, do I want to do another $100 dip buy? No, probably not. And that's just because, I don't want to expose myself to too much risk. Ondo is pretty high up on the list here. Solana, XRP, and Cardano are below it. So, I don't need to expose myself to more risk there, but I am very curious to see if I bought the dip based on my analysis from last week, which is actually why I wanted to consider buying the dips on Bitcoin and Ethereum, because my analysis was pretty good with those. So with this one, I should say, or I believe it was. But yeah, let's pull up the Ondo chart here so we can take a look at it. So Ondo USD. I want this from Coinbase US dollar. There we go. Cool. Let's check that out. So yeah, I mean, I bought the dip, I believe on Sunday, because it came down to a low of 89 cents. I think my average fill after fees and whatnot was around 91 cents. Feeling good about that. We are above that now, currently at about 95.4 cents. And so thinking about that, what was the close yesterday? Was Grok correct? The close was 93.3 cents. So Grok was, close, but a little bit off. But I'm just going to leave these numbers up here that Grok populated them by because, it's all just kind of approximate. Just approximate to get the idea of how far off I am with my P&L. And so also what I wanted to mention, which it's not really relevant now, but I'm only going to be doing the dip buys, the dollar dip buys, if it's getting down to less, if I'm below 5% or negative 5%. And so with Ondo, I still am negative, but more than 5%, but that would be a $100 buy, not a $1 buy. So I'm going to chill with Ondo for this week, I believe. Because, maybe we're putting in, a head and shoulders pattern here. And thinking about that, maybe I want to just clean up some of these fib extensions just so we don't have so much clutter there. This one does look like, it was a nice predictor of the top there, being around 107.5, getting rejected there, hitting a high of actually 113. Nice wick above there, but yeah, pulling back. And really, this broadening wedge or this megaphone, I believe, pattern that I've drawn there does seem like it's holding up. Maybe we do dip a little bit more to, around 90 cents. But maybe we break down. I don't know. But yeah, thinking about this Fibonacci retracement here, just going, just going to extend that out so we have it to look forward to the future a little bit. Yeah, just get this approximate there. So we could potentially be going down to that 786 again, which, what did I do with that dot? Okay, there we go. That was, Pierce of 89, I believe. Yeah, that low of 88 cents there. And so that's potentially where this could continue down to. But I think it's probably going to hold this uptrend. I just feel like that's a pretty compelling level there. And I feel like there was something I wanted to check with Ondo. I'm drawing a blank on it. Yeah, I don't know, but the $100 dip buy, it's just too much. It's just too much. But yeah, if my average is 103, I could, if this moves up to here, maybe that's what I want to do. Because I don't know, this is a smaller move up here. Maybe that is a head and shoulders. Yeah, what I wanted to do is a head and shoulders pattern. I'm not really too used to drawing these, but I can do head and shoulders pattern over here. So just going from this low, this high, that low there, the high here, being approximate, low there. And so that would be, coming down to, that trend line. So maybe that actually doesn't look like it works because this kind of pierces below. So maybe I would have to, no. This would have to be somewhat like that. Yeah, so when it's not shaded, it's kind of like invalid. So that's interesting. But yeah, maybe something there, but I don't really think so. I think that these are probably going to go up. But with that being said, maybe it's really, good to pump the brakes on Ondo. Glad I bought the dip last week. I need to be happy with that and chill. Because, if I'm only down 7%, I'm not really going to change that too much. But if I can change my RLC, average P&L from negative 50 or to negative 50, which was negative 54 in the week before, negative 60. I think that's good buying those dips. But with Ondo, I think I can just chill. Oh, what I wanted to draw is, let's see, actually, maybe I could do it. Maybe just the extension here. So from this low up to this high and then pull back. I mean, that's really just going to be kind of the same as what we have with this other one. So I'll just do that, delete. And so what I might want to do is just add, let's see, the 1618, and then we could see maybe the next level that it might be getting to, which actually kind of nicely corresponds with the top there. So I'm actually just going to drag this point over, keeping it in line with that bottom still. But yeah, maybe we have a target right up here around 123, somewhere around there before it gets rejected. And then maybe that would be, a time for me to trim some of this, and then I could buy back. So maybe start to swing some of these rather than just stack. Don't tell the sat stacker, but some of these alts, maybe I want to swing. Take some of that risk off the table, cycle that money back in, And with that being said, gosh, I got a problem, man. I got a problem. But still, I'm keeping that debt in savings so I don't have any risk of that. And if I do fall behind a little bit, then I can just be a little bit more conservative after the next paycheck. So that is one that I want to consider. Dang it, I got problems if you can't tell. But yeah, Ondo, that would be a dip to around 90 cents. So I'll just have to keep an eye on that. That's one that I might want to keep an eye on over the course of the next week. So yeah, we will have to see. But yeah, with that all drawn up there, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Litecoin, which actually looks like it came down in market cap as well as price over the past week. We can see that, let's see, Litecoin was over 7,000, about $100. This week, it's around 81. That can't be right. Litecoin, is that right? So Litecoin, US dollars, right there. What the hell? Yeah, so Grok screwed that up, so maybe I don't want to use Grok. Litecoin, 81. Man, I thought Grok was going to speed this up, but maybe it's just good for me to just run through this and populate this myself without Grok, because he seems to be a little bit of a drama queen. So yeah, I'll just leave the market caps, but I am going to adjust the prices, and I'm just going to go through them here because that's a pretty notable difference. So maybe Grok is good for doing market cap, but as I'm looking at the charts, I can populate the prices, or yeah, I mean, just adjust them. So let's come back to Bitcoin. Yesterday's close was 107. 32961 107,329. So 107,32961 107,32961. And so yeah, and then my average is not as good. So I think that's, yeah, I should do that. Ethereum, let's now check that out. The close from yesterday was 252702. 252702 brings my average down a little bit there, and actually it makes it red. So yeah, sorry Grok. Market caps, I think that's fine. I don't think market caps matter that much. So yeah. And Litecoin, I'll come back to Litecoin. I'm just going to cycle back through the other ones that I was looking at. So Doge, I was looking at the Binance data. And so the close from yesterday for Doge was 22.53. So 22.53, 30% up. So that's a little bit of a difference. RLC, let's check that out real quick. RLC US dollar from Coinbase. So yesterday's close, 11871. 11871. Not really much of a difference there. Ethereum Classic now. Let's check that out. Ethereum Classic US dollar on Coinbase. And so this is going to be 1849. 1849. And so that doesn't change my average. So that makes me feel good. And let's see. Ondo now. Let's check out Ondo. That's going to be this one, I believe. Yes. The close from yesterday was 93.345. So 93.345. Yeah. That's, come on, Grok. You kind of screwed that up there. Okay. And then let's see. Litecoin. That is going to be the one that I was just looking at. So let's get Litecoin back up here. LTC, is that Litecoin? Litecoin USD on Coinbase. So I was just talking about this, I believe, 81.96, pretty red there, but actually the close was 95.31. So 95.31. Shame on you, Grok. That's too bad. So I was down 18%, but Grok's a liar. Now I'm down 5%, so not as bad. So yeah, I mean, this is like, do I want to continue to do the DCAing with Litecoin? With it being 5%, let's actually check where the price is. If it's gone up from 95.31, which it has a little bit, it's at like 96. So I am now, as I'm recording this, down less than 5%. So I think I should probably adjust that. I don't need to be dip buying, like crazy. And yeah, so, or dollar cost averaging like crazy. So that's one I need to adjust that, change that. These other ones, I don't need to change anything for these. Those are all set. And yeah, so let's come back to the chart here. Maybe I am going to adjust. I don't need this one here again because we've already done that. But this does look like a bull flag. It looks really nice. Let's just do, fib extension here from the low. And then just project that up to the high and then to the low over here. Do you see where's that 100% fib level? And I am going to take off that 1618. I don't want to be getting too greedy or, expecting too much. But that would be suggesting price could go to around 118.50, somewhere around there. But, another way that I could draw a fib extension is, maybe it's not just a bull flag here. Maybe this is all, a bull flag. So another way to draw it would be like this. And that would be suggesting price could be getting up to around 136. So something else to consider. And so this probably orange, this, well, orange, that's yellow. Maybe I'm just thinking about kind of the gradients, something. So maybe I should make that one yellow, something like that. So we got these levels here, and I'm just going to, I think it'll save it so they're orange moving forward. So, yep, 118.50, this yellow line going across here, that corresponds with 132, 133, and then we got that 100% extension up there around 136. But if we do pull back some more, where could we be pulling back to? Let's just do that fib retracement from the low over here to the highs. And so it looks like we've done, already a 50% retracement, pierced that level, which is at around 94 cents, pierced that. And then below it, we do have the 618 around 91 bucks. So yeah, could still be some more downside for Litecoin. But, I'm just going to keep things simple because that's kind of the thing, for me with Litecoin over the past week. This would be like dancing around, my average. And it's like it goes above and it's like, okay, stop doing the daily DCAs, place a limit dip buy. And so that's actually what I should do, a limit dip buy for if it does go 5% below my average. So that's what I need to do. And so I'm just going to copy this here, paste that there, and make that yellow. So that needs to be a 5%. That's good. So, yep, this is also Ondo. I don't know. It's tough. I need to think about that, but I should probably, I don't know, because to be honest, Ondo could be my best performer. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's tough. I got to think about it. Okay, so with that thought of thinking about Ondo, having just done Litecoin, let's move on to the next one. Just going to have another sip of this tasty coffee. All right. So the next one on the list is going to be Solana, which does look like it moved down. Litecoin took its place at number 7. Solana moved down to number 8. Solana does have a market cap around $92 billion. And the price, which Solana, I did not enter that in there. So let's check, was Grok correct? But I guess before I do that, though, I should note that I am up based on this price around 18%, with my average around 149.29. I did not add last week. I do have a $5 dip buy, placed a limit buy at right around 149. So maybe that gets filled, but if price is this much higher than it may not, and I really just don't want to expose myself to that risk. But yeah, let's look up Sol, and we can see Solana down here. Coinbase in US dollars, so right there. And, maybe just adjusting some of this stuff, maybe deleting this here. Yeah, kind of got the double top thing going on, and the closing price for yesterday on May 23rd was 174.03. 174.03. Sorry, Grok, you were off. But yeah, I mean, at least there's an approximate number there, and we can just kind of evaluate, how well Grok's doing. So, maybe that's fun. It's a good evaluation of, what is the utility of that AI assistant, Grok. And maybe Grok 3.5 will perform much better. So, maybe there's still some utility with that for me to take advantage of. But yeah, I mean, I am up, it looks like. Wait a second. Okay, I was looking at XRP. Solana, I am up 17%. I was up 18%. So yeah, a little bit more conservative there, but it does look like it's bounced to around 177. So yeah, I am up about 18% there. But maybe we do have, this downtrending resistance here, and maybe we have some uptrending support there, and that could be a very nice bullish pattern that we're forming. And maybe I should, draw stuff like this on the other charts to maybe partake in some more swings. And actually, if I didn't have a job, if I wasn't working, I'd probably be more dialed into stuff like these kind of swings. But yeah, it's just too much to balance that. But yeah, so over here, thinking about this $5 dip buy, do I think it's coming down to 150? No, because that would be like breaking this trend line. But where could it be going to, if it does pull back some more? So just going from the low here up to that high. We did wick down to the 50%, but that was actually, before getting up to this high. Now we did nearly get to that 618 around 158, but again, before getting to this high. So those levels, 158, 164, 164, I do think could be tested again, but then that puts me, in the clear. I don't really need to worry about, going under with this. And thinking about that, I'm just going to leave that there, $5 dip buy with, around 149. But maybe with XRP or with Cardano, because, I want these three to be kind of, right around the same level. Maybe if I find a trend line like I did with Sol, but for Cardano, maybe I want to do a $5 dip buy there rather than, right around my average. So yeah, with this, I think that could be coming down to 164 is what I would guess. Maybe 160 could also be coming down to there, but the low over here on the 19th was 159.48. So if it is to be putting in higher lows, 160 seems less likely, or at least less likely to be getting a fill there. So that is something to consider. And then also just going to do a Fibonacci extension. So from the low over here up to, I guess, this high, and then to the low that we recently saw. Where does that put price? And actually, I want to make that orange. That would be putting price around 206, right around $200. We did not get there. As we can see, that high was 187.73. So yeah, $200 does make sense. And but just below there, we do have this consolidation here at the top, kind of forming this head and shoulders pattern here. That base there, that neckline, was resistance over here. So not too surprising to see Solana get rejected there. But yeah, maybe what we see is, a pullback to here and then, bounce like that. So I should do that on more of my charts, where I expect price to be going. But yeah, that seems pretty reasonable to me for Solana. And yeah, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be XRP. It does look like it has a market cap around $138 billion. And according to Grok, it closed yesterday at $2.35, which puts me up about 2%. And so, yeah, we'll have to see what was XRP's actual close yesterday. Let's pull it up here in the Coinbase data. And so just clearing up some of this stuff, I can redraw what seems relevant. But yeah, the close from yesterday, the 23rd, was at 229.70. 229.70. 229.70. So Grok's a little bit off there. I'm down 1%, whereas Grok was saying I was up 2%. And so this, though, is... yeah, I don't know if I want to do that as white. This is, 1%. So I need to do a limit dip buy at what would be, negative 5% my average. I don't want to be getting that average up too much. I did get this fill, $5 dip buy at my average last week. So that was nice. I did also do some, I believe, dollar cost averaging, $1 dollar cost averaging, but I need to place this limit dip buy at, 1%, at negative 5%. And I probably want to do that just to be, a little bit conservative. Maybe it just falls off a cliff. Who knows? Let's see. I'm just thinking about this. XRP, let's actually, before I jump to any conclusions there, let's look at the chart. So what we have, I'll just start with Fibonacci extension. I got it up there. So let's just go here from that low up to the highs here, pulling back. That suggests price could be going up to around 286, almost up to $3. We can also see that from a Fibonacci retracement, that from that low up to those highs, we are right around the 618. That's around 230. But if we do come down to that 786, that is around $2.20. And kind of like what I did with Solana, is I can just draw, trend line here. That was some resistance. And then I can draw another trend line over here, going from basically the closes and stuff. We are right around, where there could be some support. So maybe XRP does bounce here. And yeah, and so really, what I should do, XRP, it's below Solana. I want to get XRP up more. I want to get Cardano up more. So yeah, I'll do a $5, let's see, limit dip buy. If it goes down, 5%. So I'll have to place that limit, and that is going to depend on that being below me in the negative 5%, which I'm not right now. So we'll have to wait. Maybe that gets filled. Maybe it doesn't. We will have to see next week. And then the next one on the list is going to be Cardano, ticker symbol ADA. Does look like the market cap's around $27 billion. Price, according to Grok, is around, from close yesterday, around 75.83 cents. And that puts me up about 5% with my average around 72 cents. But we'll have to see, is Grok correct, or was Grok correct? And so Cardano, let's look at the US dollar Coinbase. Just going to clear this up again. And so the close from yesterday was 74.74. So Grok's a little bit off there. And that puts me up 3%. And I'm thinking that, I'm probably going to do the same thing like with XRP, and that I'm going to wait for that to be 5%. Yeah, well, let's see, because maybe what I want to do for these is do, this is a $5 dip buy at that average. So maybe what I want to do is, I'll wait for this to dip 5% below my average. Then I'd buy $5 worth. And then I would resume $1 DCAing. But if this, because I want to be getting averages down if there's the opportunity. So I think that's good. This one, let's look at the chart. Let's go over some of the levels. So, Fibonacci retracement here, which is kind of a weenie little move there. That's not really that helpful. So I'm just going to do it from over here, this low to the high up there. We did pull back to around that 618, which is around 72.73 cents. Maybe we could come lower to that 786, which is going to be around, I believe, 69 cents. Is that right? Yep, right around 69 cents. So maybe it comes down to there. If this does go higher, though, let's do that fib extension. That could be bringing price up to, let's see, right around 93 cents, maybe somewhere around there. And we can also draw some trend lines, like the trend line resistance up here. And maybe I want to actually draw these as white, not to be suggesting that there's any significance to them, and maybe just also make them a little bit thinner. So, maybe some resistance there. And then from the, lows over here, the closes, I should say, we do have this trend line. And we're basically right there. So, this could be breaking out either to the upside or the downside. I feel like probably the upside, but maybe not. If it does dip, let's see, to 72.73 cents. That is around my average. So maybe what I want to do for this one is just a $5 dip buy, but have that not be associated with 5%, just have that be at 0. So, and just to be bumping that Cardano up the list a little bit. Got to keep a competition between these three. So there's that. Now we're going to get into some more of the speculative ones that I'm a little bit smaller positions on. Yes, we'll dive into those in a second. Just going to have some coffee here again. And so I'm just going to save this. Looking at the official Trump coin, that is going to be the next one on the list. Grok, unfortunately, wasn't able to pull the data for the Trump coin. So let's go over to CoinMarketCap to find that data here. My favorites. We got Trump, which is down here, number 40 as far as CoinMarketCaps go. Just going to copy this number here. 2.6 billion it looks like. And so I will, do the equal sign, paste that in there, and then divide that by 1 billion. And so that's around 2.6 billion, which last week Trump was right around the same. Came down a little bit though, apparently. And then let's check out that price. So for Trump coin, let's check it out over here. Let's see, Trump USD, Coinbase US dollar. Okay, so cleaning up some of these fib retracements and stuff. Just don't need it to be so sloppy. The closing price from yesterday for Trump coin was $12.53. And so I'm down about 6%. So yeah, going to continue with that daily dollar cost average there. Nothing too crazy with that. But let's, throw up some more of these levels here on the chart. And so we can see with this one, we've got, let's see, fib extension. I'm going to do it from the lows over here up to the highs here, down to the lows. That would be suggesting upside potential to around 1965, maybe 20 bucks. We do have, let's just draw Fibonacci retracement first. So from the lows over here up to those highs, we have, effectively retraced to the 618 around 1250. Could be coming down to that 786, which is around a price of 1150. So maybe we do see that, and then just kind of drawing, these trend lines up here showing that, resistance. I'm actually just going to get the pivot point here, move this to right there, and maybe I'll just move it to right there. And then, yeah, I can drag this over. There was some resistance there, as you can see, not too surprising, from this pivot point to this pivot point, got rejected there, pulling back. And so, from this fib level up to there, just out of curiosity, that was a move up 18% before pulling back. So yeah, there's some nice swing potential. And so maybe that's what I should be considering doing with these alts, is placing limit sells. If I have more than, the amount, which is effectively $100 that I have in these, if it goes up to this level of resistance, then take some profits, trim out at that level. So that is something I might actually cycle back through some of these tickers at the end to consider that. But yeah, let's draw the other trend line here, which, maybe is like that. That's a little bit steep. I feel like something more so like this potentially is a little bit more. Actually, that's pretty similar to what I had just drawn. But yeah, maybe excuse me, maybe this does come down to around 1150 though. So, excuse me, so good to be prepared for that possibility. But yeah, just a dollar cost averaging there. Nothing too exciting about that. And then let's continue on to the next one. So Chainlink. It looks like it has a market cap of around 10 billion. According to Grok, it closed yesterday at 1566, which puts me down about 28%. So we'll have to check over at the chart and see if Grok is correct there. So that was Link, pulling that up here. Chainlink US dollars, Coinbase right there. And so just going to kind of clean up these levels so I'm a little bit more consistent in my drawings. Fibonacci retracement here from this low up to that high. Testing that 618, pretty common theme for a lot of these. Also corresponds with the tops over here. So around 15 bucks acting as support. That kind of makes some sense. But if it does break lower, the 786 is around 1425, somewhere around there. And then if I do that fib extension from that low to this approximate high down to the low here, that will be putting price up to around 1950 or maybe 20 bucks. Also kind of makes sense. $20, kind of a psychological level, to have some resistance up here that we've been bumping into. And then if I do adjust this so volume's not in the way, we can see that there is a trend line here that, getting kind of steep. So maybe it's time to break that either to the upside or the downside. So good to keep that in mind. But yeah, so there's that. And I guess what I could do is maybe if I don't do it over to here, this gets that level to be a little less intense. And that slope is less steep. And so that could be suggesting, a revisit to 15 is possible. So link to 15. But, for me, I'm just going to be doing kind of the casual, lame, boring dollar DCA. And so let's see, that 15, the close Grok had it at 1566. I almost forgot to adjust this. The close was 15.536. 15.536. So that puts my average down 29%, so not so great. But it's also not so bad too. But savings is better than this. That's the important point. And then for the rest of these, I'm going to scroll up because getting into Ed's head there. Don't want to be doing that. But the next one on the list is going to be Aave, ticker symbol AAVE. Market cap around 4 billion. Price, according to Grok, was $266 about, closing yesterday, down about 5%. So that is, meeting my threshold of, being able to dip by this. And so that is, let's see, that is, what am I thinking? 5%, but let's check out what the data is over here. Oops. In Coinbase. So Aave, US dollar Coinbase. I've just got to clean all this crap up. And this is just like powerhousing up, looking pretty good there. Kind of, being divergent from the other ones. Very nice breakout. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely different from the other ones. So, yeah, we've got this move up here and consolidation, move up here, consolidation. So, yeah, maybe I could do fib extension from here down to there. That might be suggesting what we could be topping out at. And so this to up here and then down to there. That could be suggesting, maybe I want to extend that a little bit further into the future. But that could be suggesting a price of around $300, somewhere around there. Also kind of a psychological level, so that makes sense. But Aave did close yesterday on May 23rd at 256.15. 256.15. Aave 256.15. And so I am actually down more than 5%. I'm down, according to yesterday's close, down about 8%. So, yeah, but so still just going to do dollar DCA, nothing too crazy. And yeah, and then so the next one on the list is going to be Stellar or XLM, which did have a market cap yesterday, or approximately right now, of 8.6 or 7 billion. And let's see, that did have a price, according to Grok, closing yesterday at 28.78 cents, but that's probably not correct. And so the average that I have is around 42 cents, so down about 32 cents. But let's check out what the closing price was for XLM. And so for this one, looking at the US dollar on Coinbase, cleaning up all of this crap here, we can do a fib extension from this low up to this high, down to this low, suggesting where price could be going, which would be around to 35 or 36 cents. But the close from yesterday that we're interested in was 28.527. So 28.527. And so that doesn't really affect my average being down about 32%. So again, still just casual dollar DCA on the daily. Yeah, so let's see. I also want to do, I did that Fibonacci extension, so I also want to do a Fibonacci retracement. So from this low up to the high here. And we are, like the other ones, have pulled back to around that 618, could be pulling back further to that 786, which is around 27 cents. So do be prepared for that. Do have a downtrending level of resistance here and uptrending support over here, which maybe we're bumping into, but maybe not. So I'm just going to actually do it from here and then from there, and then I can extend that further up. So yeah, I mean, maybe we're about to break either up or down from that pattern there. But either way, I'm down pretty negative with this one. So, I can just chill with that. But then now let's look at the next one on the list, which is going to be Pepe. According to Grok, the market cap is around 6 billion, and we got 4 zeros and 14 cents there. With my average being 4 zeros and 19 cents, I'm down about 22%. But was Grok correct with that 42 whatever 0 cent assessment there of Pepe? And so Pepe US dollar on Coinbase. Got this crap up here, so let's just delete that. And so from this, we can do a Fibonacci retracement from the lows here up to the highs. And that would be suggesting, that we could be pulling back and already have tested effectively that 50% level at around 4 zeros and 12 cents. But we could be coming back to 4 zeros and around 11 cents at that 618 there. But now putting in higher highs with lower highs in the RSI, that is some bearish divergence. So yeah, I could see this pulling back down to around 4 zeros and 11 cents. But looking at the closing price from yesterday, which was 4 zeros and 13.81, Grok was, pretty close. 13.81, is that what I said? But I'm down a little bit more, about 25% compared to what Grok was saying. And I was actually in the green, or actually, no, not with Pepe, but with some of these, I believe with Litecoin and Avalanche, which is the next one. I was in the green, but, just a dollar DCA with Pepe, as far as this goes. And so now let's check out Avalanche, the next one on the list, which is ticker symbol AVAX. According to Grok, the market cap is around 9.7 billion, and the closing price from yesterday was around 23 bucks. We'll have to check Grok in a second. My average is a little bit higher than that. Looks like I'm down about 3%, but we'll have to check and see. Grok does make mistakes. So Avalanche, looking at the US dollar here from Coinbase, all this crap up here, I'm going to delete and redraw. And so we got the Fibonacci retracement here, going from that bottom to that high. Did pull back, like the others, to around the 618, around 22 bucks. Could be pulling back to the 786, around 21 bucks. If we do, though, get an extension, a move to the upside, that would be, drawing that from the low here to this high, and then the low that we saw over here. That would be suggesting price going up to around 29 bucks. So good to keep that in mind as a level. And also, got this, downtrending resistance and then uptrending support here. So good to keep those levels in mind for Avalanche. But yeah, what was the closing price from yesterday? It was 23.07. 23.07. Nice work, Grok. You nailed this one, but you screwed everything else up. So yeah, down about 3%. So like this, I would do, a $1 limit dip buy, but once I get down to negative 5%, if that even happens. And so, yeah, I will also want to look over at the next one on the list, which is going to be Uniswap, ticker symbol UNI. According to Grok, closed or has a market cap of approximately around 3.7 billion and closed yesterday at a price of around 6.7, putting me down about 50%. But is that correct? We're going to have to check. So Uniswap, coming over here to Coinbase, Uniswap market cap US dollar Coinbase. There we go. Delete this crap so I can redraw it. And so let's see. Okay, so Fibonacci, let's see, I'm going to do an extension first, and then I'll do the retracement. So from that extension, that low there up to the highs here, and then the lows that we pulled back to, and then doing a fib retracement. So from those lows up to the highs, we did pull back to around the 618, around 580. The 786 would put price around 535. So maybe we do dip down to there. This one does look like it has a little bit steeper of resistance to the upside. And so there is that there. I don't feel like that's really too significant. So yeah, maybe this is not looking so strong. But yeah, an upside move, an upside target of around 850. So yeah, that is something to consider for Uniswap. And then, so what was the closing price yesterday? That was 5982. Grok was wrong. Sorry, buddy. 5982. Down 52%. So that's maybe a little bit disappointing, but whatever. I don't care. So yeah, I'm just going to continue with that dollar daily DCA. And then, so finally, the last one on the list here is going to be Loopring, ticker symbol LRC. According to Grok, the market cap is around $138 million. And it closed yesterday at around 10.5 cents, but we will check on that in a second. Looks like my average is around 19 cents. I'm down about 45%. But if we do come over here, let's look at LRC. And let's see, this is US dollar on Coinbase. Delete this crap that I had previously drawn so we don't have too much clutter. And then let's see, I don't think that this fib retracement is going to be that useful. But maybe it is. Maybe we do pull back to around the 786, which would be around 9 cents, somewhere around there. But we could also maybe have put in a bottom. I'm not really sure. Probably not. But let's see. From this low here to the high up here. And then where we're currently at, that would be suggesting price could go up to around 13.5 cents. Still in the red there. But we can also draw some downtrending levels of resistance over here to suggest, that is a level that we might be getting rejected from in the future. And so also doing the same thing, but to the downside here, which actually doesn't look so good. It looks like we could be breaking that level currently. So, maybe look out below for Loopring. And so with that being said, because this is from Uphold, because I think it's pretty speculative, I'm not going to be dollar cost averaging into that or dip buying or anything like that. But, I do need to populate this number here. I cannot forget that. The closing price was 10.58. 10.58. So Grok, still, dang it, down 45%. But yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to chill. And looking at all of these, thinking about this kind of bigger picture, let's look over at the percent P&L. So we can see that all of these more or less have been trending up a little bit. My positions have been slowly moving into the green. So I think that's great. But ideally, all of these will be positive. None of them will be negative. So we'll have to see how this does evolve over the course of the year. And speaking of being in the green, maybe taking some profits, I want to come back to here. So which of these, do I have, notable positions in where I could be trimming on an upside move? If they're pretty close to, zero, pretty close to my price. And so some of those, let's see, Ondo, just out of curiosity. So let's just look at any of them that are less than 10% down. So 9%, that would fall into that category. So Ondo, let's look up at the chart over here again, just to kind of consider some levels of resistance. So where might I want to take profits on Ondo if it were to go up? That would be around $1.23. And then so I'm just going to note on my notepad that I might want to trim at 123. Okay, so that is something for me to consider. And I'm not actually too sure about doing alerts or anything. Can I copy setting. Oh, I don't want it to be like that. Add an alert on Ondo. I'm not sure how I will be. Oh, this expires very soon. So I don't want that to expire that soon. Cross up. Let's see. Cross up value. I'll do 122. And only once or every time? Every time. And the expiration, I want this to expire. Open end alert. So I can't do that because I don't pay for TradingView. And so what I might, this is why it pays to pay. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna have to keep that in mind. That 123, I'll have to keep an eye on it. Checking the chart if it is going up. And so then I'd probably want to trim some of my position. And, like, let's just think about that. From 123, if my average is 103, what kind of a gain is that? So from 103 right around here up to that level, that's about a 19% gain. So trim out there at resistance and then buy back lower. And so that seems, pretty reasonable to me. So yeah, it's speculative and maybe this does end up collapsing. I can at least take some profits out and then, cycle them back in. So I'm just, recycling the same amount of money while maintaining still a core position. So I think that could be a good way to play that. So yeah, 123 for Ondo, or really it's like 122 because maybe don't get to 123, need to transfer and then trim. So yeah, that's one that I might want to trim out on. So this is something I got to think about at $100 there. Another one that's pretty close to my average is down 5%, it looks like, which is Litecoin. And so let's look at that chart, some levels of resistance and or support, kind of, thinking about it. Yeah, maybe I want to do more of a fan look like I'm doing with Ondo here versus the wedge look I've been doing on the others. But yeah, Litecoin, market cap, no US dollar on Coinbase. And so this one, I mean, what's the resistance level for this? I don't know. So we've got this 118 level right here, 132 up here. I think 118, that's probably, a level to be paying attention to. Maybe there's a trend line here corresponding with the bottoms that might intersect into the future with, what we're seeing, with that 118. And so really, I mean, maybe what I want to do is just connect this to over here and then move this one. So we got that support, going across there. And then if I extend that left, that could be some resistance to be paying attention to. And yeah, so 118 right around there might be a good level for me to trim at. So Litecoin LTC trim at 118. And then I just have, that core position that I can then buy back on dips or just chill. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's buying back on dips at technical levels, maybe that's not so bad. And then so yeah, got those two noted there. Solana, I'm up 17%. And so this is one that, I should kind of consider. Where might it be going to? Where might I want to trim at and whatnot? So Sol, dollar, Coinbase. And so, yeah, I mean, if I'm up, maybe I'd want to add some Sol around 164. So just that 50% level. So with Solana, I'm just going to note 164 would be, the add level, because that's above, it's above my average, but it's a technical level, so why not? And so that would be at 164 is what I was saying. Okay, and yep, so I feel good about that. And then next on the list, XRP. I am just going to be doing a limit dip buy, but maybe I want to do that based on a technical level rather than just relative to my position. So XRP, US dollars, Coinbase, technical level. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing there. So it's just, let's see. 5% dip. Or maybe not. That's something I got to consider. I've got to think about because I don't want to be throwing too much in. Yeah, and I also don't want to be going back and forth, all this stuff. I want to get Cardano above. So, yeah, no technical levels, just if it goes 5% below my average, then I add some to XRP. Now Cardano. This is not the one that I wanted. Cardano, I want US dollar on Coinbase. So yeah, I got all this stuff. So really, right around the technical level, the dip buy, and that's right around my average. So if it does dip to my average, put $5 on it, I think that's fine. And then just kind of reevaluate from there. And then let's see, Trump coin down about 6%. So just going to be doing the dollar cost DCA. But since that's pretty close to my average, what's a level that might be acting as resistance for Trump coin? And so with Trump here, Coinbase, US dollar, there we go. And so the level of resistance that I could see would be around 1450, somewhere around there. And so if my average is 1334, let's pull up the calculator. So let's see. How do I do this? So 1450 is what I'm saying. So 1450. And then if I were to, let's see, divide that, is that right? By my average, which is 1334. That's, an 8% swing, something like that. So if I multiply this number by 1334, I would get that. So yeah, that's about an 8% swing. It's nothing crazy, but it's something. And if it is to be getting rejected from there again, trim, lower the risk, no big deal. So I think the Trump limit is going to be around 1450 because, if it does go up, if it does go up, maybe it gets rejected and pulls back like that. So then that would be good, and then I could buy back lower. Or if it goes up there and breaks above, then maybe at retests, I could buy back there, and then, it goes higher. So that is a possibility. So yeah, so Trump, I'm thinking 1450 is a good level to just trim. Trim at 1450. It's just something for me to consider. And then let's see, Trump was right here. Link, I don't think it's going to get up to a good level for taking profits. Aave, down 8%. Maybe there's a level that I want to consider. So let's see. Aave, I want to pull up that chart. That's what I'm doing. Aave, US dollars, Coinbase. And this is just, on a rampage. And so considering that rampage, what's this level even from? Just drawing dots there. I get the cursor there. Oh, yeah, my God. Okay. So that's from that fib. 300 bucks. So 300 bucks seems like, it's a good level to be taking profits at, psychological level. So what I could see happening, it also corresponds with, the consolidation over here. So that does make sense. And so then if it does go up, maybe it finds this level where it's currently at as support. And so that could be, a move up, rejection, maybe form a bull flag, and then break out something like that. So I'd like that. And from where we're currently at, or really from my average 280, approximately 279, what kind of an upside move is there? So from 279, right around there, up to 300, that's around a 7 to 8. That's less than a 7%. Let's see. It's about a 7% move to the upside. It's nothing crazy. It's not nothing though. And then it would be, lowering some risk, managing that risk. So Aave, I'm thinking trim around 300. Okay. So that's something nice. And then basically everything else on the list other than Avalanche, is, too low for me to think about trimming, but Avalanche, maybe I could trim on that. So let's pull that chart up. Avalanche, US dollar on Coinbase. And so the level of resistance for this potentially be around 24.75, maybe 25 bucks. And so from my average of 23.70, what was the high over here? We did break that line. That was 25.98, but maybe I don't get a fill at 25. So yeah, 24.75. So I'm just going to write that down here so I note it. 24.75. And so from, my average 23.70, not going to be a very big move. But 23.70, right around there, up to that level. That's around a 4% swing, so nothing too crazy, but just kind of getting into the practice of swinging in and out, having positions that are a little bigger than I like when they go down, accumulating, and then trimming out to the position size that I want at technical levels. And then if this does break above that wedge, it could be something like, maybe it does something like this, dips down, then goes up, then retests that, and then I could buy back in around 24.35 where the cursor is right now, and then it goes higher. So something like that. So I find that to be, pretty compelling. And so, yeah, that's kind of, my strategy for this upcoming week, doing a $40 daily DCA with Bitcoin. Considering all of this that I've gone over, maybe I do a $10 or maybe a $50 dip buy if it does come down to a technical level, which maybe I've already done that. I did go over that at the beginning of the video. And then Ethereum, 36.25 daily DCA, no problem there. But maybe a dip buy at around 2,300. Dogecoin, I think I want to start doing the dollar DCAs, and then I can have a $5 dip if it does go to my average, which I don't think is going to happen. And actually, yeah, let's pull that up. Let's see, Doge, pulling this up on Binance, but with the US dollar. And so, yeah, even coming down to the 786 here. So I think that what I could probably do is just do a dollar DCA for Dogecoin, because I don't think it's going to come down to that level, and I don't have to have, actually, no, I think it's good to just have $5 on the side. Why not? It doesn't hurt, So dollar DCA there, RLC chilling, or was I thinking, no, RLC, if it comes down to 113, then I'd think about putting 200 bucks on that. Ethereum Classic, just doing $3 DCA over the course of the week. and, just trying to get that average down then to exit. I should note, the exit level for Ethereum Classic, that is going to be, effectively my average 2257, but I believe that was 2280 looking over here. Let's see, 2280. Yeah, so 2280 is my trim level. So good to keep that in mind. And then let's see. Ondo, maybe. This is going to be tough. If it does dip to 90 cents, maybe I would add. And then I would trim out on Ondo at 122 just to get that position size proportioned the way that I want it to be. These I will be doing limit dip buys if it comes down to 5% below my average. Except for Cardano, that would be at my average, just because I want to be getting that to move up competition with XRP and Solana. And let's see. Oh, and Solana. No, I think that would be. I need to make that be. No, I don't see it coming down to my average. So let's actually just see Solana here. So what is my average? 150. That's this red line here. So, I mean, it could come down there. Yeah, and then so, I'd add. So that's fine. This one here is at 5%. Litecoin, I need to, it's $1 at 5%. Yes. This, that's 0. This, I need to just consider that. This one, 5%. This one, not at 5%. These are all just daily dollar cost averages. Also Uniswap, nothing exciting there. Avalanche, if it does come down to sub 5% of my position, daily limit dip by $1 and then daily DCAs after that. And yeah, I've got some trim plans for Ondo, like I had mentioned. Litecoin at 118 above my average. Solana dip by, at 164 is what I would do. Dip by there, so not at my average. And then let's see, the next one down, Trump, I would trim at, let's see, a price of $14.50, not too exciting. Aave, I would trim at 300, and Avalanche, I would trim at 24.75. So yeah, those are all the levels that stand out to me. This is kind of my plan for the week. And yeah, I'm going to go a little bit heavier if Ethereum does dip to be honest, I was thinking 24, but looking at the chart, I actually got it already up here. Looking at the chart, 23. Yeah, because maybe we take out the lows there. Maybe 23.50, something like that. 23.50, because maybe I don't get a fill exactly. Maybe it comes right around to that level, 23.50. And I was thinking 24, so that is a discount. And then thinking about Bitcoin, pull back here. I don't need to get super aggressive or anything. So I'd probably just say right around 105. I think that seems like the level that I like. And yeah, so I'm going to have to clean this up in my notepad. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about this. This was helpful for me over 2 hours. And hopefully it was helpful for you guys. But, as always, just going to come back to here so we end off where we began. As always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and weekly Crypto Corner Sat Stackers on Saturdays. Take care, you guys. Have a great holiday weekend, and I might stream tomorrow a little bit just for fun, but I will definitely be doing overnight market preps next week beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern on Monday evening. So, I look forward to seeing you guys then. And yeah, take care.